Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 91 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we are going to wish everybody a happy new year. Hopefully everybody had a great Christmas, and we're going to talk about adventure. So why we do what we do, some of the things that really got us into the industry that we're in today, maybe share with you a couple personal stories that have happened over the years and some of the things that we've had fun doing in the course of the years in our industry. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the podcast. Happy New Year, everybody. And without further ado, here we go. All right, so I do want to say a quick thanks to Krieger Barrels. Krieger's a sponsor of the show, great business partners of ours as far as providing us with great quality barrels in order to build the custom rifles we do. They also offer KriegerDirect.com, where you can log on and purchase barrels in inventory and have them as little as 3 to 4 business days. So stop over to KriegerDirect.com, KriegerDirect.com. Also, thank you so much, TriggerTech. TriggerTech is also a proud sponsor of the show, maker of world-class triggers. That is all we use here on our custom rifles long before they sponsored the show, and we certainly appreciate having them on board. So if you need a great trigger for your rifle, custom or otherwise, stop over to TriggerTech.com. That's TriggerTech.com today. All right, so I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas and looking forward to a great New Year. We're getting up to there and counting it down to 2022. And I just want to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about some of the different things that got us into our industry, maybe some personal stories, as well as some things to think about and ponder as we get into 2022, some of our personal goals and some of the things that we're trying to set up to do. So it should be a great podcast. We're really looking forward to this one. So for starters, I do want to say that I think a lot of people that get into the outdoor industry or get into the outdoors, period, it's adventure. And I think going out and seeing the wild and being exposed to these different things and, taking chances, getting out there and exposing yourself to both the good and the bad that can happen. And sometimes when the bad happens or unpredicted things go wrong, our ability to adapt and improvise and overcome all of those words that you hear people say, working together as a team and getting through it. That's really sometimes what makes the most astounding memories, like things that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So, one of the things that we like to do here, and one of the things I personally like to do is, and I really do believe this as far as a statement, that we were really never meant to be indoor creatures as far as human beings go. Especially for us that have that adventurous spirit, being trapped inside in the jobs and the works that we do doesn't lend well to us. We belong outdoors. We belong in the mountains and going for hikes and walks and boating and paddling and hunting and fishing and, all these things. But the last 30, 40, 50 years, we have grown to be almost like an indoor species where, John Markwell at King of the Mountain had commented, because he runs matches there and does a lot of training with both the military and law enforcement, stuff like that. And, he says, sometimes, you get guys out there for 2 or 3 days on the mountain, especially a lot of the office workers or people that just don't get a chance to go out. And it really wears on them. They've not been exposed to the elements for that many days in a row. And, it's a great experience. I don't want to paint this as, well, this is a negative thing if you're stuck indoors in the office for your job. That's not true at all. But there's a shock factor when you don't get outdoors very often, and all of a sudden you're back out in it. You get worn out, you get tired, but you also, I think, sit back and think, wow, this is pretty awesome. Just to be outside and listen to the wind and, watch the trees move and watch different animals doing different, like, for example, a fox or coyote comes running out across. You don't see that every day, but you sit there and you get a chance to actually enjoy it. The other thing with the outdoor part of it is, there's a time and place for both being out there for solitude and reflection, and then there's a time and place to be out there with camaraderie. And for me, it's sort of both. I love going out sometimes and just sitting in a quiet place. Like, I think that's why I got into the varmint hunting and those types of things, because, yeah, you do get the social aspect of it because you get to go out with lots of people sometimes, and it's a lot of fun. But there are times where you just gather up your stuff at 10 in the morning, eat lunch, and after lunch you head out to the field and you prop yourself up underneath an apple tree, and you sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You've got no place to go. You've got nothing to do. Your cell phone's turned off in your pocket or your pack. And it's amazing how that hour or two just changes your aspect. It gives you time to reflect. It allows you to search in the deeper parts because you're not being overrun by 50,000 stimuli that's coming from your phone dinging and your email box dinging and phones ringing and all these other things. You just never get any peace. Like, one of my greatest memories as far as like some solitude was I got a chance to go out on a hunt out west in the Rockies, and I was right on the border, upper panhandle between Idaho and Montana, and real close to where you could see a mountain called Grizzly Mountain, which was really well known for, of course, grizzlies. And but I sat there the first morning, and I watched the sun come up. I was all by myself. I was there with a group of people, but when the hunting started, we all split up and everybody sort of went their own way, and we all had sort of a little bit of a game plan, but I had a place that I wanted to go to, and man, I watched the sun come up over that Rockies, and it was the most powerful thing I think I've seen, and just watching it break across mountains. I mean, we don't have mountains like that here in Pennsylvania. Watch the shadows just explode into the colors of the sun, and hear an elk bugle so close that the hair on the back of your neck is just standing up. I mean, you can't see them. They're there. And it's the loudest scream you ever heard. Hearing packs of coyotes light up, just after dark, maybe more than 24, who knows how many. And just all these exciting things. But I think for me, for 2022, I'm going to keep working on trying to get outdoors as much as possible. It is where really I belong, and it's one of the most, I would say, comfortable environments that I like to be in as far as just outside. Motorcycle riders probably experience this, and just to give you a couple other examples, like I do love to ride motorcycle. I've been riding since I was, old enough to mow grass to save money to buy my first I think it was a Kawasaki 100cc, right? And it's something about riding a motorcycle that you're exposed to the elements, you're exposed to the outside. You get to smell everything in the air, like the flowers or the pine trees. Like I did a trip down south, went the whole way to the bottom of Louisiana, and I was stationed in Fort Gordon, Georgia for a while, and I went through that area, and just the smell of the pines, you're like, wow, I remember that. And the weather, whether it's rain or all the other things that you get into. But I think it's as close, someone had said that riding a motorcycle is as close as that a human being can get to actual flight. And the other part of it is just you're outdoors. And I think that's a big portion of it, is that you're exposed to the elements, you're outside, Another really cool memory of riding my motorcycle was I wanted to take a trip up north to a place called Clearfield, Pennsylvania. They had some powder in stock that we needed, and I think it was like November, December, might have been even January, who knows, just maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And the forecast was calling for, in the 40s, 50s, but, nothing crazy. And I have a bike that's capable of riding in really cold weather, and I have cold weather gear, although none of it's really heated. I got heated grips, but I have some cold weather riding gear, and it's actually a lot of fun to ride in that type of weather. But I got halfway to Clearfield, which is about an hour and a half drive for us here, and it started snowing. Now, just flakes in the air. But I remember like the biggest smile from ear to ear. How cool was that? Here I am buzzing along on my motorcycle, going up to buy, I don't know what it was, like 4 8-pound kegs of powder and going to put them in my panniers. And it's snowing. And it was just the coolest thing. I'll give you another example. And sometimes, you have these great adventures that just go awry, right? Things just don't go as planned, but I will tell you, they make the greatest memories. So let me share with you another one here. Me and my wife went out. We have a little pizza shop that's like a 45-minute drive, and we jump on a motorcycle and we run over there and we get some pizza. And boy, I tell you, it looked like a South Dakota storm. If you've ever been out west when these big storms roll in, like lightning, and you see the big dark clouds, and it's getting dusk, so we're like, we probably better call it and try to head home. So I looked at the radar and I was like, well, we'll go this way. I think we'll go around it, and oh no, we didn't go around it. Man, it was the craziest storm I've ever been in on a motorcycle. It was raining so hard that cars were pulling over with their blinkers on. We were literally doing like in through the Johnstown area and getting into town, 15 mile an hour, driving through, 12 inches of water, 14 inches of water on the road. The front tire was like parting it like a boat. My wife was on the back. I could feel her legs like tightening up on my hips, like, ooh, and we're trying not to go so fast we hydroplane, but we're definitely not, trying to get ourselves into a situation where we get ran over. And we got back home, and my wife was like, that was horrifying, but it was awesome. I mean, she will never forget that experience after it was done. The rain coming down so hard you couldn't even see. It was never on a motorcycle in that type of weather before. And we got back home, she was just like so exhilarated, like that was really cool. I mean, horrifying, but really awesome, Same thing with like funny stuff. Like we just got back from a camping trip. So we love to camp. We've had travel trailers and fifth wheels and all that crazy stuff, but and tents. We've camped in tents many times. What we have now is a thing called an Ursa Minor, and it actually sits on top our Jeep. And so we want to do a lot of out west trips this year so we can get into our tent from the inside. It's actually built into our Jeep. And we get some nice weather here and get the Jeep cleaned up. I'll do a little video walk around and show you what it sort of looks like. Maybe we'll throw something up on YouTube with it. But anyway, we can travel out west, and we're actually sleeping in our vehicle. We can get in and out from inside the vehicle. And so if we get into a situation with wildlife or something like that, my wife feels a lot better sleeping off the ground. So we decided we were going to go for a little camping trip to Virginia Beach, and we just got back here. And, this is one of those things that I'm talking about here. Like, we could have stayed home, and we were like, wow, we haven't really had a couple days off, so maybe we should consider staying home, just relaxing for a day or two. And knowing us, we're like, nah, let's go for it. So packed everything up, literally just the basic essentials, and off we went. And what a great time we had. I mean, I tell you the things that didn't go so well, but it was awesome. So we pull into this campground, and we're going to camp for a couple nights. And here they got this big company from Texas setting up a drive-through light show all around us. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And I will never forget ever when, we got there about 8:30 at night. It was a horrible drive, by the way. It should have taken us 6 hours. It took like 10. I mean, accidents everywhere. It was a long day driving there. But there we are on top of the Jeep in the tent, all snuggled up. It's because it's December. It's cool. And I'm watching my wife watch those lights, and I'm just watching because they went to music, and you could hear the music in the background from the cars that are driving through. And we got a front row seat to this incredible light show. And I'm watching the light pulse off my wife's face, and just the smile, like I will never forget that till the day I die. I mean, she was happy. She was just sitting there enjoying herself. It was really, really cool. And then, of course, we went out and got some nice seafood the next day, and then she got pretty ill. Not violently sick, but definitely not sure if it was the food or. And then, so of course, we come back probably a day early. But the other part to this too is I wasn't thinking about this till I got back here. We didn't have the music on iTunes, radio, audiobook for the entire drive down or the entire drive back. And then when we were there, we were pretty much outdoors the whole time. We went for walks, went on the boardwalk. We enjoyed some of the light shows. I mean, it was a great time. But the other part to that was in this adventure is that we enjoyed each other's company, just uninterrupted. No cell phones, no dinging, no ringing. And it just dawned on me driving to work today, we never turned the radio on one time the whole way down or back. Now, how cool is that? Now, how often do you get, not just 15 minutes to hold a conversation, but just hours to just be yourself and relax, and just be. And so one of the things that I would like to make for a New Year's resolution is to spend more time outdoors. We've been really busy like everybody else, and sort of COVID made a wreck of everything. We did go camping a couple years over the past, several years. We try to get out once or twice, but no real vacation. So this year in 2021 was the first vacation that we had, a real vacation. We went to the Outer Banks in probably 5 years. And my wife reminded me of that when we were there. And I was like, no, it can't be that long. And she's counting it back, and she was right. And so the clock ticks on all of us. We never know when it's going to end. And so we have worked really hard to this point, and we're going to continue to do the things in our business to allow this business to grow. But we're also going to take the time to take some of these adventures. I always tell people, don't put these things off. A good friend of mine left an imprint on me when I was younger. He said that when he was guiding out west, how many times he watched grown men, just sitting there in the Rockies, watching the sun come up and go down, and maybe it's a 5-day or 10-day hunt. And it does something to you. Like when you start, remember I was saying, like you get a chance to just reflect on life, and just that solitude just allows you to breathe in and breathe out. And if it's been bad, that comes, and he said he's watched how many times like grown men just breaking down and crying, like wishing they would have been a better husband, wishing they would have been a better father, wishing they would have taken the time to do this or to do that. And, for me, I was fascinated that how many times he said it happened. Like literally guys would just break down. And I was like, I don't want that to be me. I don't want to have that regret. I don't want to go on the beach in Hawaii, for example, if that's one of your dreams or one of the places you would like to go. If that's the place that I want to go, I don't want to wait until I'm at the end of life where I'm out there in a wheelchair. That's not the time I want to enjoy that with my wife. So, you got to take the time. You have to go. And I think a lot of times now, it's so easy for us to get distracted with Netflix and all of the other media that just hammers on us. Now you can watch, a series. You get hooked on whatever video series is playing on Netflix or Prime Video or whatever it is, and you can binge watch 35 shows in a row, or however many there is. It just constantly restarts itself. Boy, what a waste. I enjoyed having a little bit of downtime, and we'll have like pizza and wing night where we'll just watch a movie or something. But it's so easy to do that now that it's actually, disappointing that, I am not an indoor creature. I don't do well being stuck inside for long periods of time. So maybe the motorcycle is a saving grace for me, or the varmint hunting when I was younger. The other thing I want to talk to you about is just some of the things you'll make in memory. So if you get a chance and you've got the knack for all of this stuff, whether it's hunting or motorcycle riding or hiking or backpacking or camping, there's a common theme to this, and it really is adventure. We are born as humans to thrive that we belong out there in that world having that adventure. So go and have it. It's really cool. I tell you just one quick funny story. So we were in Virginia. Keep in mind that it was a commercial type campground, but we were tent camping there with the Jeep and flashing lights everywhere. Keep in mind that, at night, man, there's lights on everything, right? And so we went over to have a little shower house and bathroom there, and I thought it was part of the props. Like there's like these 9 doors, and I was thinking like they were all lit up around the outside and looked like they had name tags on them. Hell, I couldn't see them, it was the light flashing in my eyes and stuff. And I said, "Oh, that's pretty." So I walked around. There's bathrooms on the other side. Walked around, and I grabbed one of the handles. I was seeing if they were open because I thought they were the shower portions or shower houses, but I wasn't sure. Man, I gave that a jiggle and it wouldn't move. I gave it another big jiggle, and I hear somebody on the inside saying, "It's occupied. It's occupied." My wife was just like instantly laughing. Like here, if you look real close, there was that little dial on there, right, that says occupied, open, and of course the letters were all rubbed off from the dial being turned so many times. And she said, why did you, after we got back to the tent, she said, why did you shake that so hard? I said, I thought it was stuck, and I couldn't see the signs. And, an hour later, we're getting ready for bed, and I hear her starting to giggle. And then Nick goes into a full roar, tears coming out of her eyes, just laughing. Like, she's like, why did you do? I was like, I said, it's funny. We go to Virginia Beach, we get thrown out of the campground, get arrested, and I get a PFA for Christmas. And, just laughing. None of that happened, of course, but, it's just, that's what happens when you go out and you have these adventures. And she just rolled and rolled. I mean, her stomach hurt, the tears were rolling down her face. It just got so you get into these situations where you do, in my case, some of the dumbest things. It was dark and flashing lights. I have my excuses. But, this stuff happens and it just makes great memories. She'll probably never forget that till the day she dies. And, she'll look back, and when she thinks of it, I guarantee she's probably going to giggle a little bit over it. So I guess for me, what I try to do is I try to, in life, for me personally, and this is me talking about setting my personal goals. So I have some fitness stuff that I would like to start working on. We've been working lots and lots of hours, so not taking the time to take care of ourselves like we should. And so I'm going to try to work that into a routine and try to get that set up. And I'm pretty dedicated when I get a routine set out. When I get it in my mind to do something, I have the willpower. I've been blessed with that to keep after it. So I want to do that. And when I make the decisions, when we go places and the hobbies that I get into, the other trap that I think that, and I'm guilty of this is why I'm talking about it going into New Year's, is, sometimes we just make decisions or we do things because simply we were asked to, or we go places because just simply we were invited. And those are all really awesome. But, I'm going to start being a little bit more picky on these things and saying either it's a yes, like 95 to 100% that I definitely want to do that. And if it doesn't fall in that category, it's an absolute no. And so one of my friends best put it this way. He said, it's either a hell yes or it's a no, period. So if yeah, let's go do, oh, hell yeah, I'm all in, and I don't mean to swear in the podcast and all that, but I'm just, for emphasis, saying it. If you're that excited about doing it, then you should go. Just go. But if you don't have that, find something else that if you get invited to go somewhere and it's just not your cup of tea, say no to that and find something that you can say yes to. Take that time to do these other things that in life you'll want to do, or take time to set out and work on these other goals. Because often, way too often, we all do it. I'm guilty of this as well, is that we live our life like a blank sheet and we let other people write in on our calendar of when and what we're doing. And sometimes it's just going with the flow. Hey, there's a so-and-so invited us over for, they're doing a cookout on Friday. Well, yeah, I guess we should go, But, maybe that's a bad example, but you can say no. And if it's not something you're super excited about, or if you're putting off other things that are more important to you, then have the courage to say no. Because I really do think it takes more courage and honesty to say no than it does to say yes. So that's one of my goals for this, coming 2022, is being very picky on the things that we say yes to, so we can do more of the things that we're really excited about doing. So, for example, like one of my goals for 2022 is I would like to go out and spend some time in Moab. I've never been there. I've driven through the area several times, but I didn't want to stop and enjoy the area without my wife. It was business trips, and so I thought, well, I'm going to just go through. It was beautiful scenery, but I never stepped foot on the ground, and I never went off-roading there because I wanted to save that for when I could bring my wife with me. So that's one of my goals for 2022 as well, is to go out and do some off-roading and sort of to see the West in a different way than just the hunting trips and the business travels and stuff that we do sometimes. So I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I hope everybody really gets a chance to sit down, and boy, what a crazy past year or two it has been with just how people are reacting with all this COVID and behaving with each other. I mean, look at the airplane and how people are just going crazy on the planes and just overpowering each other, demanding that they do to their will, and dictating their rules to people. And I think a lot of our travels to Virginia, the multiple hours it added to our trip was because people just didn't want to fly anymore and deal with that. I think most people, we were looking at the plates, they were from everywhere. I mean, we've seen plates from Colorado, Utah, California. We've seen plates from Alaska. Just plates you normally, of course you see license plates from everywhere, but we noticed that there's a lot of really far away states, on the interstate, way more than normal, I think. Maybe people are just opting to drive rather than fly, which probably isn't a bad thing sometimes. So I hope you get a chance to get out and enjoy your New Year's here. I hope everybody has a safe and happy New Year. And I really do hope that for 2022 that you set some goals for yourself and, set some time aside to go out and do some of the adventurous things that you want to do. We love shooting. It's what's got me into this industry. That art, that draw, and plus it takes you to the outside and lets you enjoy that environment. And I think that's all of these things that in my life that I've gotten involved in, all have that draw to get you outdoors, to do different things and to experience different things with different people. And it's that environment. And so it's what's sort of got me to where I'm at, even so much so that it's the business that I'm in. But I really do hope that you find that adventure and go. You just have to go. If whatever's calling you, whether it's like I had a friend of mine that's into sailing and they sailed all over the eastern seaboard and down to the Bahamas. And that was his calling. And he owned a small business and he just shut it down. He was like, we're going, this is the date, end of story. And they went and they had the time of their lives. Matter of fact, I think he was telling me that his wife was on night watch and they came across a giant naval vessel and she got confused as to which side they're supposed to pass the vessel on. And he said it turned into quite an exciting moment, him being woken up. And but that's what it's about. You make these great memories. So I hope you all have a great and happy and safe New Year's. I hope that 2022 brings you all the good fortunes and the adventures and the love and relationships that makes this life what it really is. And just have a safe and happy New Year. So looking forward to 2022 with everybody. Looking forward to a great year of hopefully shooting in the outdoors. But from our family and from our business to you, wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the podcast. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you're listening to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.